Charlie and them. Charlie's hanging out with.
You're listening to the Southeast Asia Business Podcast with me, Dana Blouin.
Oh yeah, flip it to airplane mode. If you can't reach me, I apologize. I didn't ignore you, I was in disguise. In disguise, man, you know I got a big surprise. Ask me why, cause I'm trying to build an enterprise. Airplane mode on the go. Airplane mode on the go.
What's going on, everyone? Dana Blouin, Southeast Asia Business Podcast. With me today, I am talking to Lennise and Aizat from Dropee. You guys are both co-founders of the company. You're a B2B marketplace here in Malaysia. Tell me a little bit about yourselves. Tell me what you guys are doing, and thanks for coming on the show.
All right. So, hi, my name is Lennise. I am the mischief of the company. I'm one of the co-founders. I'm the CEO as well. So what I do on a day-to-day basis, other than annoying my so awesome co-founder Aizat here, is I run business development, marketing, and I do a lot of like front-end activities for the company.
Great. So you're kind of the face of the business.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Aizat, how about you?
Hi, I'm Aizat. I'm the co-founder of Dropee. So I run more towards the operation and finance of the company. So pretty much all the boring stuff that Lennise hits to do. So I'm here to really cover all that. Yep.
All right, so you're kind of the behind the scenes action guy.
Yeah, and I actually kind of enjoy doing it anyway. So it's kind of complement each other. Yeah.
And Lennise, you get to be out front, being in front of everyone.
Yeah, Aizat's too pretty to be up front.
He's a gorgeous guy. I have to agree.
I know.
So, guys, tell me what it is that Dropee does. Like I said in the intro, you guys are a B2B marketplace.
That's right.
So what exactly does that mean for the listeners so they understand?
Yeah. So our B2B marketplace is an online platform where we connect retailers, which are the SMEs, directly to the brand owners. So these brand owners comprise of the wholesalers all the way to manufacturers. The way that we curate these suppliers, these brand owners, we're pretty strict about it, mainly because we want to provide all these SMEs the most reliable and the best priced products as possible.
Okay, so talk about the curation process then a little bit. So you said you're really strict about it. What are you strict about?
Okay, so first of all, we only work with the principal and above. So what I mean is that we try not to work with the lower supply chain of the industry. So what it means is that if let's say we have Nestle, for example, to be one of our supplier, we will only work with the supplier, with the Nestle themselves, rather than the bottom part of the distributor. And again, the main reason is because that we want to give all the SMEs the best price, as well as getting all their products fast and accessible. Yeah.
Okay, and so you guys are an online platform. I've talked to, on this show now, we've talked to a lot of online platforms, either e-commerce, B2B, B2B2C, and one of the things that specifically comes up over and over again, especially with Southeast Asia, is trust between consumers, trust with partners. And as an online platform, somewhere in that e-commerce space, it's not very much innate thing here. It's not as intuitive in this region of the world as it is in, say, the West. Like I got my start, back in the 90s with an Amazon-backed startup called Cosmo. Now, Amazon has worked since then to develop trust and making people feel comfortable to buy online. And one of the things I see with my work all across Southeast Asia is that not everyone has that. And companies who are building it, like yourselves, have to really grind to get customers to feel that level of trust because it's not built in yet. So what's that journey been like for you guys as a B2B platform to build trust with other companies who are by nature mistrusting of other companies?
Okay, so before I answer that, can you elaborate more of these companies who are mistrusting the other companies?
No, and not mistrusting, but they don't give out trust easily, right? So a company is skeptical by nature, right? If you're not going to be in business for very long.
Right.
So I'm not saying they mistrust.
Okay.
I'm not. They're not a bunch of.
Who are these companies? Maybe I should stay away from them.
No, they're not a bunch of evil corporations out there. But what I mean is that you have to really hold on to that trust and not give it out so easily. That's why companies go through that RFP process and pilots and all of that stuff, because they're not just going to trust, Joe off the street because he comes in with a product. Now you have a B2B platform.
That's
it's
right.
much more difficult to earn the trust of a corporation than it is a consumer in many regards.
That's right.
And so but it's also very difficult to keep that momentum going. So what's the work that you've had to do as a B2B platform to build that trust?
Right. So how we started off is that, and this ties back to the story of Dropee and how it conceptualized, right?
Yep.
It started off as a project first, of which we, both of us, both Aizat and myself, we actually came from family businesses that actually runs and trades products, FMCG products, for at least 1-2 generations, right? And because of that, when we started developing this platform, it was mainly with the pure intention of implementing it within the family business. And soon, one thing led to another. As the word spreads, my family friends heard about it, of which they have their own brands. They decided to try it out. They liked it, wanted to expand it and then introduce that to their friends. So one thing led to another. It's through word of mouth, I would say, in regards to the trust.
So it wasn't even a business yet.
It wasn't. It was a project.
It was like an internal like an internal startup.
Yes. Yeah. So when one thing led to another, and it became something that we had to put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. That's where we decided that, hey, Aizat, I told Aizat, I was like, look, this is getting serious. We gotta do this full time. And so we incorporated a company, and one thing led to another. Here we are, right? So
How long ago was that?
A year and a half.
Year and a half.
Again, like Lennise said, we did a little bit of pivot as well. So we started more towards like a software base, because that's what we were trying to build for our family, and only then we started moving towards the marketplace instead. Actually, just to add a little bit on to what you mentioned earlier, right? In terms of the trust, it's actually very true. For us, our first cycle for the supplier took us roughly around 4 to 5 months. It was really, really difficult for us to constantly chase after them. They constantly question, why do they need us to be here in the first place? But after we closed one thing led to another. A lot more companies starting to realize about us. Other competitors of that supplier realized, hey, they're working with Dropee, maybe we should as well. Then everything is just snowball effect up to today.
So you said one of the questions they had for you is, why do we even need Dropee, right?
Correct.
So what's your answer to that pain point for them?
So when we look into the whole retail industry in terms of the supplier perspective, they usually only know the bottom line of their revenue. They don't know exactly who their real customers are. They might know that maybe in certain area this is the amount of revenue that they can get. But when you look into more details, they don't know which retailers are actually buying their goods, whereabout, what kind of products that they buy, what's their sales cycle, all of those kind of stuff. Simply because there are a lot of middlemen in between. Okay, if let's say I'm a brand owner, how traditionally it works is that I will appoint a principal to import all these goods. Principal will start to look around for wholesalers. Wholesalers will look for distributors, and finally it goes to the retailer. And just by doing something like that, if you're the brand owner, you probably won't really know what kind of customers are actually looking to your kind of product. How's your competitors are doing in that kind of range as well. So what we provide to all these brand owners is that the transparency, who are these retailers, what kind of products that they buy, as well as allowing them to give any form of like a specific promotional and all of those all together.
So you're giving them better optics on their sales funnel?
Yeah, that's
Nice.
right. And not only that, because we are trying to optimize B2B trade, right? Essentially, these middlemen are taking up to 1,200%, especially in the FMC markups.
Wow.
Yeah.
Depending on the vertical. So it can go as little as 400%, which is still pretty high, to all the way to 3,000, 4,000%. So
how many of these guys have threatened to kill you guys so far? Right? If you were taking away that kind of cash from me, I'd be knocking on your door.
Oh man, you can't imagine. So
No, but the thing is that we are not trying to, again, that's why I didn't use the word eliminate them. We're trying to optimize B2B trade. And we want to work with these middlemen to actually shift, because eventually, whether Dropee is here or not, there is going to be a shift. We have seen multiple brand owners have been, starting their company here, incorporating their own company here. It's like, for example, Ferrero Rocher, Hershey's, they have been started their own factories here and distributing themselves. Back in those days, Harman Kardon, they require distributors to distribute their products. Now Samsung just bought over. They even have their own companies and their own. They all incorporated their own company here, so they can distribute these products themselves, even to their retail outlets. So there is. Eventually, these brand owners will cut off these middlemen by themselves.
Well, you're talking about some big brands. You're talking about Hershey,
yes.
Samsung.
Yeah.
Right. A small to medium brand owner, like you're talking about, a small business doesn't necessarily have the infrastructure or the capital to take over distribution 100% by themselves. So that's where you think you guys fill the gap.
I think just to add on a little bit. So when all those previously, right, all of our customers, those retailers, whenever they want to buy their products, they will have to buy it through their distributor, simply because they couldn't hit the minimum order quantity of these big brands.
Okay.
So right now, what we're trying to do is we aggregate all these retailers' purchases all together. So when we know the volume of their purchases, we can just straight away send one purchase order to the big brands, Nestle, for example, and now they can distribute it themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, and these guys are our suppliers right now. So
So you're buying right from the brand directly, from the Nestle, from the Samsung. You're able
Red
to
Bull,
yeah, from the Red Bull. You're able to hit those minimums, maybe even buy at volume, drive the prices down.
Correct.
You have more negotiating power.
We're still at the beginning phase.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, of course, there are some products we have to purchase it upfront. Ideally, when we want to move forward in the future, we want to be asset light, an asset light company, meaning that we don't want to purchase these products and we just want to let the free market just do it by itself. Yeah. And what our platform does, just like what Aizat has mentioned, is that we want to aggregate the purchases amongst a particular city and then send this amount directly to the brand owners, so they know that, okay, I just need to send one truck or one lorry to just drop off all these orders at one particular date in the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we're very confident that all the goods in our site is easily 20 to 40% cheaper than their typical distributor price.
So you're able to not just optimize the distributors, but you're also able to reduce the cost for your customers.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
It seems like a win-win for the customer and for you. Maybe not for
for the suppliers.
Maybe not for the person getting optimized, but optimized.
Well, there are a lot of I'm
joking. You don't have to get defensive.
I'm not too sure if you know about the Malaysian state of last mile fulfillment, services. I think we are still quite far behind.
Okay.
Although we do see quite, significant improvements. However, more players should participate and should be on board. I think last mile fulfillment has done quite well in the B2C aspect.
Okay.
However, in the B2B aspect, there's still a lot of rooms to improve. Mainly because the rates for B2B is completely different from B2C. You don't expect B2C rates being charged to B2B. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? So I would encourage, and we do see a shift of these distributors trying to move into the logistic games where they will see that, okay, I want to grab this piece of the pie because they see that this is the area where it's growing. B2B marketplaces of B2B trade, online trade is actually growing. So they want to be a part of this before they lose out.
It's ability for them to pivot into something that's going to be a more long-term sustainable business model.
Yeah, that's correct. So we've actually seen a couple of distributors on our end starting to work together with us because they already have all these vehicles under their company anyway. So previously they will help distribute this kind of product, but now they're becoming logistic players. So if you go to a Dropee as well, we've already integrated a couple of third-party logistics. So they can get orders where they can just go to the brand owner's warehouse, pick it up, send it over straight to the retailers.
It doesn't jive off from their current operations.
Yeah.
It's still the same. It's just how they actually change or, mask themselves.
You optimize them out of one vertical and into another?
or we say we shift them.
Now, I want to go back real quick to the beginning for you guys, because you said you were both working at a family business, very similar area, but not the same thing.
Yes.
And this idea came up as you wanting to do something internally.
Yes.
And you said you get to the point where it was just too much work. So talk to me about that process, because that's something we haven't heard yet on this show. And I think the listeners may be interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Going from an internal, and I imagine that a family run business, you said multiple generations. So I would imagine that.
I said one or two.
One or two is multiple. but I would imagine that some of the processes are sort of set in stone in some of these older family businesses, more mature family businesses, not older.
Yeah.
But talk about that process of being almost internally disruptive and then realizing that you had a product that was viable in the marketplace.
Well, what's your definition of disruptive? So
disruptive is change, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to do something different within your own company, right, you were being sort of internally disruptive to the way you were doing things.
Right.
Not in a negative way, but disruptive in a way that was changing the paradigm of how you were planning to operate.
Yeah, that's right. So with this project, or Dropee, when it was conceptualized, it was complementary to other services that both our family businesses have been running, right? So when we started implementing this, we saw that it went well with its own traditional operations, traditional methods. So as we progress, again, like what Aizat has mentioned, initially we started off as a SaaS company, but as we move along and we pivoted into a marketplace where the answers, you don't really know what the problem or what these family businesses or what our family business wanted until we actually provided the solution, right? So when we actually started implementing this, it was when they saw that it's a huge market where it's untapped and where they actually wanted to go into. Yeah. So,
it's pretty funny. When we first started, we only had the mentality of, this business has been running for ages already, and there are a lot of papers going on. Like for example, B2C, you want to buy something, you can just buy online. Yeah. Instead of your credit card and stuff. In our family business, it's really ridiculous. They will fax the whole thing. Yeah. They will literally write, I want to buy 10 cartons of this, etc., etc. Yeah. So we had that kind of mindset that, let's just try to reduce the paper, and that's pretty much about it.
So this started from trying to reduce paper use.
Correct. Yeah. Only once we realized that the whole thing started to get a little bit traction internally, then only then we start to look into our different kind of business and try to speak with them, and it actually works. And instead of just reducing paper, we also managed to optimize a couple of processes as well as bringing them more leads. Okay. So that was something that we thought that, maybe we should really just give it a go and
go all in on it.
Yeah.
So now, did your family businesses work together before? How'd you guys end up working together on this project?
Okay, so I knew Aizat back in uni. So, and we kind of worked with each other in a different venture before before Dropee, and before the family business. So I kind of, we jive well, right? Yeah. So that's why we decided to work together, because we came from the same wavelength. After our old venture, he went back to his family business. I went back to mine. We caught up a couple months later. Similar problem. Started off this project. Boom. Next thing you know, we're here. Yeah.
Nice.
So, and we have a lot of mutual friends, and I think we're quite familiar of how our work ethics are. So
it's just jived well, like you said, and you were able to.
Yeah.
Obviously, the work relationship's going well because you guys are in this very rustic office.
I know, right?
But I mean, you guys have grown something here, right? Yeah. So it's something that went from a family business to an actual incorporated company with employees and drawings of Fry from Futurama on the wall. And
Credits goes to Aizat, by the way.
It's a great drawing. I love the squint. It's perfect. But one of the things that's interesting about that is that it started off as an internal process, and as it said, it was about reducing paper.
Yeah.
Something simple. Then you optimized a few things. Sort of that iteration, and that's something that I see a lot with guests on the show who've come to this sort of point, this like 1 year plus mark, is that there was a lot of iteration along the way.
Yeah.
Right. And you said you guys pivoted twice.
Of course.
Right? So
I mean, you do know
SaaS.
you do know the startup lives chart, right?
Oh, yeah,
where it's
the
like
meme,
how you're happy and then you pivot and it's like up and down all the way before you see the hockey stick growth kind of thing.
I always like the one that's like the path to success visualized, and it's like a straight line, and then it's like the real path to success. It's like all over the page.
Yeah. It's like all over and be like, shit, what are we doing? Are we doing the right thing? Why do we incorporate this in the first place? kind of thing. Yeah.
So now talk to me about that first kind of pivot from you went to SaaS. You started out as SaaS, right? Then what was the next pivot?
So after SaaS, we decided to move into dropshipping, mainly because, we assume, this is based on assumption, that e-commerce is growing and a number of e-commerce retail outlets, online retail outlets is growing. And of course, they needed products to sell online, right? A lot of people are actually taking 2 jobs, morning, they have their work, their full-time job, go back home, they have this online business that they're doing, which is great, right? And we have these heaps of products that doesn't have much online presence. What better way to actually connect these two together? We tried that out. It's not that it's not going great. I mean, not that it's not going so well. It's just that we feel the market opportunity is still at a very nascent stage. Customers, basket size, it's not a lot. We're both numbers people. So when we just crunch in the numbers, it doesn't really make sense 3-5 years down the line, where we can actually start to see growth, at least like massive hockey stick growth kind of thing. And so when I talk to Aizat, it's like, do we want to wait this long for it? Is it worth incorporating a company for it? Not really. So hence we decided to move down the supply chain and focus more offline.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where we saw, look, they have a retail outlet. They need to stock up. Basket size is significantly more. Yeah. So,
gives you a bigger piece of the pie,
of course,
per customer.
Exactly. And better yet, because in comparison for both online and offline retail, online retail, you can easily shut down your store with a single click of a button.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't need a reason why. It's because they'll be like, oh, just because I feel like it, or just because I want to go on a vacation. Yeah. Whereas offline retail, you can't do that. And so that is a consistent growth, and that's where we found out that the data usage of it is actually very important for these suppliers or these brand owners.
You said you're both data people. I'm a data guy myself. So talk to me about that data, right? Where are you deriving value from the data for yourself as a company and for your customers?
Okay, so I think before we look into all this kind of data, we actually need to look into the customers that we already have.
Okay.
So let me just reiterate a little bit. Before this, Len mentioned that we were dropship aggregator, right? Where we tried to pull the brand owners directly to the consumers themselves. So when we look at all these like numbers, where the growth in the industry as well as the logistic and whatnot, it doesn't make sense at all. So we move one step behind with the retailers, and again, the consistency is there. We know that their average basket size per month is around 50 to 60,000. That's very common in any SMEs or any retailers in city. So this kind of data, how we separate it is that we look to a number of purchases that they have, number of products. That's the easiest one. Followed by into what kind of product that actually sells within certain areas as well. So I can show you a little bit after. We have a couple of variables that we look into it. Currently, we're tracking around 27 different things.
Okay.
Yep. It's still not as comprehensive as how we wanted it to be. But all this data that we already have means a lot more for the suppliers.
And it's a work in progress, right?
Yeah, because right now, most of the suppliers only have the bottom line revenue, and that's it. So what we're trying to provide to them is that even to an extent where when is their product is being purchased regularly and stuff. So
What sort of festive season?
yeah.
Yeah, what sort of festive seasons and whatnot. So, yeah.
So you're helping them, like you were talking about optimizing before, but in reality, you're using this data to try to optimize some of their behavior.
Yeah. So we started off again, we started off from trying to go paperless
Mhm.
all the way to trying to help them to optimize their inventories, their
Yep.
turnovers. Yeah.
And so, have any of your customers really seen a big improvement from that at this stage? Because again, you're really young.
Yeah.
So.
No, not yet.
I think right now, while our main goal is to really assist these suppliers, right? We're helping the retailers even more because these SMEs really relies heavily in terms of cash. So by us allowing them to save 20 to 40% of their normal bulk purchases, it actually means a lot. And currently that's where we realize that maybe this is the focus that we really need to go, rather than just always all about the supplier side. Because eventually suppliers will come, but this retailer is the one that's really putting everyone to business.
So supplier goes where the buyer goes. Yeah.
So you guys are working with physical retailers, correct?
Yes, that's right.
No, so I remember, since the 90s, people have been saying retail's coming to an end. Retail's still around. People still go to shops. But do you see that with a lot of the disruption happening in Southeast Asia with online retail? Amazon's knocking on the door. They're in Singapore. Lazada is making heavy plays. Do you think that there's going to be a difficult period in the near future for retailers, for some of your customers?
No, because again, it's all about where the customers can pick up their goods from, right? And if you're a consumer and you're buying items like one unit, sure, just purchase it online and you can get it easily shipped to your doorstep. But if you are running a business and you want to be closer to the community, and we're talking about essential goods, right? So where you run out of it, you need to have it immediately.
So like bourbon.
Bourbon, whiskey,
all those
vodka.
things. Essential goods. Essential goods.
That's right. Yeah. And you can't just purchase it online and wait for it to come within 24 hours. What if you need it in the next 1 hour, in the next 2 hours, in the next 10 minutes?
So you walk down to your local store.
Exactly. So these local stores will still be there no matter what. Yeah. And that's where these local stores will be able to find and purchase and source for their goods directly from the brand owners, from our side.
From you.
Yeah.
From your platform.
From my platform.
So then you think that your primary customer base will essentially be insulated from any physical retail slowdown, brick and mortar slowdown that is probably going to happen in the next 5 years here.
Yeah. So again, when retail, it kind of covers, it's an umbrella, right? It's a large umbrella. It covers multiple verticals. You have like fashion, you have FMCG products, convenience stores, etc., etc. We fall under the convenience stores side.
Okay.
So we do not see there'll be a slow growth or a negative growth, I would say, in regards to that.
Convenience for a reason, right?
Yeah. You need your whiskey.
Yeah, bourbon.
Your bourbon.
Yeah. You need all those things. Maybe some potato chips.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe.
Yeah. Some chocolate.
Gotta have chocolate, right? Okay, so then you've got a very stable, I'll say stable niche carved out for yourselves.
Thank you.
Now, you're very welcome. Now, you guys are operating currently only in Malaysia, right? Growth-wise. Now, do you see yourselves growing outside of Malaysia, or do you think that maybe right now that's not a necessity because you can still grow so much within Malaysia? Where do you fit on that scale of how you want to grow?
Of course, we foresee this platform to be used across multiple different countries, ideally across the ASEAN region. But how we target in terms of our expansion is that we want to go into countries that are developing. We are not going into countries that are already developed, mainly because the supply chain has already been optimized there.
Okay.
right? Take a look at Singapore. Singapore, for example,
It's boring. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't say that.
I didn't either.
Okay, someone did.
Isaac, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So in Singapore, right, the importers can directly sell their products to local retailers.
Okay.
And there are close to zero middlemen over there because it's such a tiny country, logistic wise, from point A, from one side of Singapore to the other side of Singapore, it's like less than 2 hours
Yeah.
without traffic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of pointless for us to actually enter a country that's already developed. So we want to go into a developing country where there's still a lot of inefficiencies there in terms of product distribution, FMCG distribution, and whatnot. So we see that our platform can connect businesses better.
I can think of a few places that fit that description. But you guys are both data people. You said that already. So what are some of the metrics you're looking at for these developing markets? Like what makes a developing market stand out to you guys for your model? When you look at a Thailand or Myanmar or Cambodia, Philippines, Indonesia, when you guys look at those markets, what are the metrics that makes one stand out from the other?
I think it's just more towards like the GMV and the B2C itself, because the moment when the number of B2C increases, automatically it will translate to the B2B as well. Initially, I thought that really doesn't make sense because B2B and B2C are just different.
Yeah.
But one thing we notice is that the moment the gross merchandise volume in B2C increases, the B2B increases as well. Because why? B2B is always slightly behind the B2C.
How far behind does it follow?
That's something that I can't really specifically tell based on per country. But what I can tell is that at least in Malaysia, where B2B is always around 4 years behind.
4 years.
So the education part, it plays a really important role. So once the customer goes to B2C, all these retail outlets will start looking into, hey, maybe I should start to transform my business as well. And then it goes trickle down the rest of the supply chain. Yeah.
Think about it. Remember the fidget spinner?
Yeah.
If it lasted long enough for 4 years, I think it will be all across like a lot of retail outlets. You might have a fidget spinner outlet itself. Yeah.
Possible. Oh, a fidget spinner outlet.
Fidget spinner cafes, fidget spinner mall, fidgets.
Way too many fidget spinners.
Yeah. For fidgety people.
But what you were talking about, caffeine and fidget spinners could be a good combo. Highly caffeinated.
Oh no.
But what you were talking about with, so you see in Malaysia, it's a 4-year curve, right? And that's a metric that you're kind of interested in when that B2C market takes off. So you have to try to pinpoint what that follow behind is in every other country.
Correct. So I guess one way for us to really look into it is that apart from just the gross merchandise volume, the GDP of course plays an important role as well. It's just that for us right now we do see that the GDP doesn't really translate anything much, whereas for the GMV between the both B2C and B2B can really, it's pretty much like converts pretty well. One of the ratio is always 4:1, at least in Malaysia, whereas in Thailand is around 5 point something to 1.
Okay.
So the lesser the ratio is, that's the time where we should go. But we don't want it to be like 1-to-1 because that's gonna be like Singapore or Australia where the supply chain industry is really optimized. So we want to go into the growing countries. You
want to go to a place where there's a growth potential that exceeds what it's going to cost you to enter that market.
Yeah. So at least for now, the 3 of the countries that we're looking into is either Thailand, Indonesia, or Vietnam. So far, those 3 are the ASEAN countries that we're looking into it. Which one exactly we're going to go first is going to be a secret. Stay tuned.
It's going to be a secret, but I'm sure you guys you're running numbers, crunching numbers, trying to figure out where the right step is, right?
Of course.
And so 3 developed countries, all 3 with a lot of logistics issues, 3 with a lot of B2C outlets and a lot of B2C growth at the moment. So now, are you looking to try to figure out where that curve is? What's going to bring you to that next level?
Yeah, definitely. And just to add on to Aizat's answers, right, before, we also look into the number of distributors, number of players, i.e. the middlemen.
The people you can optimize.
the people we can shift and optimize. Yeah, work together with. Yeah. So we definitely look into that. And of course, like you've mentioned, the number of delivery points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's going to take some time before delivery points has been established across the countries.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I think of the geographic challenges that each of those places offers is completely different, right? Geographic challenges of Indonesia being an archipelago are very, very challenging. One of the companies I have equity in is like an IoT logistics company, fleet management company. They've looked at Indonesia at length, and it's just so challenging. Whereas Thailand's, a fairly standard place, and then you have Vietnam's very long, right? Geographically, very physically kind of a challenge there.
Yeah.
So each of those, and you're talking delivery points, I would think an archipelago is going to be
interesting, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what other innovations or who can we partner with to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe next thing you know, B2B drones.
Hey,
Yeah.
It's possible. B2B drones.
Yeah.
It'd be some big drones.
I think in terms of that as well, we're just quite lucky because all the brand owners that we work with are pretty much they own the brands in all these countries as well. So we do need to see we do need to get their support before we can go into the countries.
Yeah.
Because without them, then there's no supply. There's not going to be any retailers. So far, most of our suppliers already asking us whether we want to go into a different country. Our business model works in a slightly hyper-local rather than import-export. So it's more towards like the country itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're looking at is, well, what they're looking at is trying to get you to come in and work with them and give them the same optimized experience somewhere else.
Yeah.
It probably takes a lot more than just one customer asking you that to motivate you to make that move.
Yeah, of course. Education is actually the most expensive part of any innovation.
Oh yeah, of course.
So hence that's why Aizat did mention, we want to look at how the growth rate of the B2C market within that developing country is doing. If it's growing steadily and it's like shot off the curve and like going really, really well, all right, maybe we could consider seriously in actually moving into that area. Because it won't be that expensive for us to actually educate all these local businesses to start using technology or going online to source for their products. Yeah.
Now, going into another market, especially another country, is an expensive endeavor, right? And starting a company is an expensive endeavor. So talk to me a little bit about where you guys are, if you're okay with it, where you guys are financially. So like when you started up, I know you came from family businesses. But like, did you have to raise capital to get off the ground? Was it fully bootstrapped out of that? And where does that leave you today?
Okay, so we started off with 50 grand ourselves, just the two of us, so 50,000 ringgit.
Okay.
And then after that, we tried a little bit of the business more towards the software, didn't really work out. Going to drop shipping also doesn't really make sense. Once we already figured out the nice sweet spot with the retailers, and that's when we actually raised 300,000 from an angel. So we're quite lucky.
How much?
300,000
ringgit. Okay.
From an angel.
An angel, single angel investor or an angel group?
Two.
Okay.
Two of them, and it's a strategic investor.
Good.
They're Singaporean based. They are They run a private equity firm with 6B, and they invest in all these FMCG companies. So we figured that it kind of opens up a lot of doors for us. So the sales cycle for the supplier becomes shorter. The introduction becomes much more. Like you said, the relationship plays an important role. Yeah. So after that angel round, we managed to close 150,000 grand with Cradle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the most recent one, we managed to get 500,000 grand from the Ministry of Finance, Teraju.
And that was a grant.
Grant as well. Yeah. So
that puts you guys at Series A now?
No. So we're looking into raising a seed round very soon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So still talking to a couple of investors for now before we go into the Series A onwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're looking to raise a seed round, and you want to do that this year?
Yes.
Okay. And you want to do seed round this year, and then is that going to be part of what fuels your expansion into another market?
Yes, definitely. So in terms of Malaysia-wise, we're quite comfortable with where we are. We're confident that we can actually go into all this Malaysia nationwide very soon. But of course, to get more resources to scale even faster, to go into different country requires a lot more capital.
Yeah.
Yep. So
a lot more.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot more.
And manpower. Yeah. It's a pain.
Exactly.
Let me ask you though about Malaysia as a whole for what you guys do, because you have two separate geographies in Malaysia, right? You have the peninsula and then you have East Malaysia. So does that pose any unique challenges for this specific type of business, or do all the relationships with your brands and your customers carry over there as well?
Okay, so I think it's definitely a little bit challenging. If you look into the state of Sabah and Sarawak, while it's even way bigger than the East Malaysia itself.
Yeah.
But when you look into the retail demand, it's actually slightly lesser compared to the East Malaysia.
Okay.
So as for now, we haven't really worked any of the West retailers yet. West is Sabah Sarawak.
No, it's East Malaysia, isn't it? Sabah Sarawak?
Oh yeah, shit.
It's okay. You
Lol.
haven't had his bourbon yet.
Yeah.
Lol.
Yeah, he needs his late afternoon bourbon.
Yeah, so we haven't worked with any of the Sabah Sarawak retailers yet.
So you guys are strictly on the peninsula right now.
As for now, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now, are the relationship side of this business? Because you guys aren't strictly. I mean, you're a startup, you're a tech company, no question about that.
Yeah.
But you require physical interface with your customers.
Definitely.
So that's why I'm asking if that is more of a challenge.
Yeah. So to answer your question, it depends on, again, our suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on our future partnerships as well. Mainly, it's just a logistics issue.
Yeah.
That's all. Right?
Okay.
Even traditionally, why is it really difficult for suppliers in this side of the world, this side of Malaysia, to be able to send goods over to Sabah and Sarawak? It's because of logistics.
Yeah.
Right? Even the newspaper price is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
There's a little bit of water in between you
Yeah.
guys. So.
Yeah, literally.
So that's what I'm curious about, because I think that, I don't know the opportunity there, and I know you just said that their retail demand is actually less than the peninsula, correct? But being a Malaysian company, do you still see that East Malaysia segment as something that you want to be serving?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. When there's a demand, there's a supply.
Yeah.
Right? We always believe in a long tail game, of which there's no such thing as too little of a demand. A demand is a demand.
Yeah.
Right? And we're a tech company. Our platform should serve all. Right? These products should be accessible to all. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been a pleasure speaking to both of you guys. I thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having us.
Can you do me a favor and tell the listeners where they can find out more information about Dropee, how they can find out if someone out there is a small retailer, how can they work with you guys? How can they get in touch?
Sure. Okay. So first off, they can log into our website, www.dropee.com.
Okay.
They can check us out on Facebook. Again, same word, DROPEE. Instagram as well at Dropee Official.
Okay.
Or they can just email us at contact@dropee.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Everyone, you've been listening to a conversation with Dropee. They're a Malaysia company. They're here in Kuala Lumpur. All of their contact information is going to be in the show notes, so check that out. Find them on Facebook. If you're a retailer or if you're a brand owner, get in touch with them, because they're going to help you optimize some of that middle fat out of your supply chain.
Maybe give them some bourbon too.
If there's bourbon involved, I'm always there. Okay, guys, until next time, stay on that grind.
Charlie and them, Charlie's hanging out with.
This is the Southeast Asia Business Podcast with me, Dana Blouin.
Oh yeah, flip it to airplane mode. If you can't reach me, I apologize. I didn't ignore you, I was in disguise. In disguise, man, you know I got a big surprise. Ask me why, cause I'm trying to build an enterprise. Airplane mode on